The Christmas Cake by Bodden. It happened in December, almost 1 year to the day. Whole year had passed, but the sting and embarrassment of losing her prized Christmas cake to that gang of leeward fops was still fresh in her mind. This time she had a plan, a meticulous, foolproof plan, well worked out. What was needed was total control. So she had to be careful of what she said and to whom. After all, she was Aunt Fine, the wife of the Honorable Edwin P. Solomon J.P., chairman of the village council. No one, but no one, would get away with embarrassing her without some form of retaliation. That meant she had to keep her story close to her bosom when Boleg gadabout Alice came around. After all, her mouth never joined church, and everybody in the village knew that she couldn't keep water on her stomach. So much so that the village people used to say that the 3 fastest ways for news to travel is telegraph, telegram, and tell Alice. So Aunt Fina had her work cut out for her this Christmas, if she was to keep her plan to get even with Fudnan and them leeward fops from that old news bug of Alice. 2 days before Christmas Eve, Aunt Fina let it be known that she was preparing to bake a better heavy cake that year than she did last year. Now, that would have been a real hard job, but nobody doubted that she could do it. As a matter of fact, it was a commonly held opinion in the village that she had the record for baking the best heavy cakes. Only Miss Edna could compare to Aunt Fina, but she specialized strictly in corn cakes, while Aunt Fina could bake cassava, corn, yam, potato, breadfruit, and fruit cakes. Anyway, what Aunt Fina really planned to do this year was to bake one real good yam cake for her family, and then another, a special cake for Fudnan and his stealing friends from leeward. She was careful to spread the word very casually at first that she was thinking of baking a cake again this Christmas. Later, she decided that she would announce that she had engaged 10 pounds of white yam from one man named Bertram, way over in Hatland North Side. When Fudnan heard the news through that grog-teeth boy Uskin named Spiky, he was beside himself. In his usual ill-mannerly way, he opened conversation with Alice. Alice, I hear Aunt Fina making a prize-winning cake again this year, he gave out when he saw Bow-Leg Alice. I know you're not telling me anything I don't know, answered Alice, in a way that made him understand the news was no surprise to her. Well, I sure hope she don't end up doing all that work for nothing, because what happened to poor Aunt Fina last year was a real shame and disgrace, said Fudnan sarcastically as he trotted away from Alice, giving a sailor's whistle to call his friends who usually hung out under the grape tree just down the road. Fudnan, what you mean by that now? Asked Alice, confirming what everybody in the village meant when they said that Alice was as light as a feather. Fudnan rounded the corner of the house just in time to be confronted by his mother, Malvina. Fudnan, I hope you know I overheard you, and I hope you're not planning any mischief this Christmas. I tell you, it's embarrassing singing on the choir with Aunt Fina and knowing that you was that ringleader of what happened to her Christmas cake last year, cautioned Ma Malvina, sounding as sincere as if she was in confession. Ma Malvina, I've been telling you, Fudnan had nothing to do with Aunt Fina cake last year, replied Fudnan, knowing full well that he didn't convince his mother. Mind you, Fudnan, I'm warning you. Stay away from Aunt Fina's caboose. Mind your business or trouble is going to catch you. Ma Malvina was almost pleading. Ma Malvina, I tell you, Bodden don't do them kind of things. No, sir. Bodden ain't no thief, he replied loudly as he continued down the road to meet up with his friends under the grape tree. As he met up with his companions, he burst out, boys, I hear she baking another one this year. And with that, the four friends burst out together. Another one bites the dust. Another one gone and another one gone. Aunt Fina baked for us. Aunt Fina was on countdown. Solomon from Northside had just dropped off the yams, and they were pretty to behold. She went to her bedroom and fidgeted until she found the itemized shopping list and planned to go to Uncle B's shop later that day. She would get brown sugar, that real Jamaican brown, about half a pint of some Cuban molasses, cinnamon, allspice, one good-sized nutmeg, and about half a pound of that New Zealand butter from Uncle B's shop. The last thing to add was, of course, the grated yams and a little flour. She had already cleaned up that famous wooden spoon she used to stir everything together. Uncle Edwin said that that was made from real Guyanese green heart wood. When she checked the famous Dutch pot, a sly smile stole across her face. A smile that was nearly as big as the one they said Ashford had when he turned that hellamentin loggerhead turtle off of Wind Point last year, August. Then she checked the other pot, that old, tried and true one that her sisters gave her for a wedding present about, umpteen years ago. She smiled again as she thought about what they would think if they found out what she would be baking in it. After all, it was not a favorite of hers, and she really wasn't doing anything wrong, or so she thought. Next, she checked the bag hidden outside under the wooden steps leading up to the back door of the old cookroom. Yes, it was still there. Old Man Cornwell's horse dung. Pungent, rancid, nauseating and foul-smelling, all of it waiting to be mixed, stirred, concocted, and baked. Aunt Fina smiled again as she thought, imagine them fat boys think they're going to have the last laugh at a respectable village woman's expense. Fina will be in control this Christmas. Yes, sirree. And with that, she began to assemble her combination of buttonwood and grape tree wood in preparation for the caboose. Now, some people, those who really weren't experts on baking heavy cakes, used logwood. However, the real experts like Aunt Fina and Miss Edna never used logwood. They knew it had a tendency to blaze up and burn off quickly. As she started the baking, she remembered the stories she heard about the ancestors and how careful and clean they were. What would they think of her? A descendant, baking horse cake. Huh? Then she thought about the descendants and said, descendant or no descendant, that was a dirty, no good thing they did, and this should teach them a lesson about stealing. And if they think the cake tasted good last year, this one will certainly be unforgettable. After all, it would be made from horse. But she didn't say it because saying that word would be unbecoming for a polite village woman as she was. Nevertheless, a sly, mischievous smile stole across her face, and her ears tweaked as she imagined the expressions when Fudnan and his friends bit into their Christmas cake. She had just removed the yam cake from the caboose and set it to cool when she heard the voice. Fina! Ah, Fina, how you coming along? Are you getting through? Inquired Alice. Alice, that you? Well, what breeze blow you yet today? I'm still here in this old cookroom, child, fighting with this fire and trying to bake this little Christmas cake. I was just saying, as soon as I'm finished, I can take a little nap and get off my poor old tired legs, because I've been standing all morning. Aunt Fina did not care to entertain Alice for any length of time, especially not today. Today was a busy day for her, and after all, Alice was known as an old news carrier. Well, Fina, I was just passing through and thought I would just say hello. I'm on my way to look for Miss Chatton and Congelette. They promised me a piece of Johnny cake and some swanky, confessed Alice. Alice, child, I don't blame you for not staying here when the two of them promise you something. The two of them are so mean and stingy that you better try to get there quick as possible before they change their minds, advised Aunt Fina. Anyway, don't worry. You know Aunt Fina is going to have your piece of cake for you come Boxing Day, promised Aunt Fina. Well, Fina, for goodness sake, try to keep this one from that Malvina starve-gutted stealing boy, Alice cautioned as she tried to coax some speed out of her two worn-out bow legs. When the embers died out, Aunt Fina placed the special cake right in the center of the mahogany table in the cookroom. The window closest to the table was left closed, but unlocked. She then retreated to the house and pretended to retire for the night. By this time, the yam cake she had baked for Christmas was cooled and safely placed under her bed. At about 9 o'clock, she thought she heard some noises around the side of the cookroom. Hush, boys! Don't make a sound! Fudnan could not believe his luck. The cake was in the same spot it was last year, and it was still warm from the fire. That hog-belly cray-cray held the window open while Fudnan lifted himself like a cat onto the windowsill and ever so gently inside. He grasped the pot with the agility of a well-experienced burglar, and before you could say Jack Frost, the whole operation was over without a snag. Meanwhile, Aunt Fina had retired to her hammock. Aunt Fina felt amused as she visualized the action. Fudnan and the boys headed for Dick Frederick's door shed. The cake was placed securely on the ground, and then Fudnan sang out, "What is brown comes from the ground and move without a sound." Aunt Fina was real relaxed now. A feeling of accomplishment crept over her, and she gently rocked the hammock and smiled satisfactorily. Down on the beach by Dick Frederick's door shed, Fudnan and the boys were finishing their mocking song. Another one baked for us. Another one for us, boys. Another one baked for us. Another one baked for us. Aunt Fina closed her eyes. The gentle swaying of the hammock was beginning to lull her into deep relaxation now, and she was falling asleep. On the beach, they laughed so hard, they thought they would wet their pants. Boy, Fudnan, only you could come up with these sayings. Fudnan started cutting the cake with the knife he stole from Ma Malvina's kitchen. Everyone was given their fair share. Fudnan and the boys opened their mouths as if they were on church choir singing at the watch night service on Old Year's night. Aunt Fina was almost asleep now. She smiled to herself and thought, tomorrow will be Christmas Day. Church service was at 11 o'clock and it would be a public holiday. The next day would be Boxing Day, another public holiday. She would cut the yam cake then. Alice would get her slice. Aunt Fina burst out laughing as she mused to herself, a very Merry Christmas, boys, and fell into a deep slumber. On the beach, Ferdinand spat out a mouthful and cried out,
"This is no heather cake! This is horseman!"
And that is the story of the Christmas cake by Roy Bodden.